Ron Howard has always been the quiet watcher of Hollywood. From Opie Taylor and Richie Cunningham to the Academy Award-winning filmmaker behind Apollo 13 and A Beautiful Mind, has spent a lifetime telling other people's stories while keeping his own close. But for decades, one story weighed on him. The truth about Jim Nabors, the man who made America howl with laughter as Goomer Pyle, had carried private burdens behind that sunny grin. Ron was barely a teenager when he met Nabors on the Andy Griffith Show. Ron was little Opie, wide-eyed, and beloved. Jim was the surprise breakout, a one-episode guest who turned a sweet, bumbling gas station attendant into a 1960s television icon. On set, the world saw Golly and Shazam. Off-camera, Ron noticed something more complicated. A kind, thoughtful man navigating a business that demanded perfect smiles. And too often perfect lies. In those days, certain truths were never spoken aloud. Jim Nabors, blessed with a towering voice and generous heart, was a gay man at a time when openness could end a career. Gossip columns swirled, even pushing the persistent and false legend that he and Rock Hudson had secretly wed, a rumor both men dismissed. For Ron, watching Jim move through that glare while protecting his privacy was an early lesson in how harsh Hollywood could be behind its polished facade. And yet Jim never let cruelty define him. Ron remembers how Nabors stayed late to steady nervous guest stars, how he could drop the Goomer act and speak with gentle wisdom, and how he lifted a young actor's spirits when the pressures of child stardom pressed too hard. He became a protector, an uncle figure, proving kindness could exist in a cutthroat town. After Andy Griffith, Jim spun the character into Goomer Pyle USMC, turning that simple attendant into an unlikely Marine. The show was a smash, but away from the cameras. He lived with constant whispers and expectations to be on all the time. Funny, sweet, harmless. He found refuge in music. Fans who knew only the clown were stunned by his operatic baritone. A voice that let him be fully himself, if only for a few minutes at a time. As years passed, Ron's career surged behind the camera, while Jim chose a quieter life. He settled in Hawaii with his longtime partner, later husband Stan Cadwallader, building a sanctuary far from tabloid noise. Even as the world slowly changed, Jim stayed private. He didn't parade his personal life. Ron respected that, speaking of it only in ways that honored the trust born on that old soundstage. When Jim Nabors died in 2017, tributes poured in to celebrate the gentle giant who made a nation smile. Ron grieved quietly. But at a recent celebration of the Andy Griffith Show, he finally shared what Jim meant to him. The kindness, the music, the quiet encouragement. The way Jim taught him that some of the biggest stars are also the loneliest souls. That real courage isn't flashing in the spotlight, but living your truth when the world refuses to see it. Ron's voice broke as he described Jim's final years. Peace in Hawaii, singing for neighbors, tending his garden, loving without fear. He called him one of the bravest people I ever met. Not for a headline-grabbing act, but for surviving decades of whispers and judgment without letting bitterness take root. Jim showed him that family isn't just blood. It's the people who see you as you are and stay. In breaking his silence, Ron reminded us behind every goofy golly stood a man who gave everything to make others smile while carrying battles we never saw. That may be Jim Nabors' truest legacy. Not only the laughs, but the quiet courage, the hidden heartbreak, and the unmistakable grace of a man who chose kindness anyway.